Springer surprise on the inside. He's a man who suffered a 2-year doping ban in the past. The other Russian, Alexei Popov, he's wearing bib number 813. 25 laps of the track to see who will inherit the title won by Steven Makoka 2 years ago.
Looks like Russia's Vladimir Nikitin has gone very fast out there. He's already a few yards ahead of the chasing pack.
Well, winners of this title in the past, Jan Fitzen of Germany in 2003 was succeeded by Wilson Busanai of Uganda. There's no Ugandan in this field tonight, though. But there is a Kenyan, Mark Lokwanamwai, but it's not necessarily one of the favourites. The middle distance and long distance in the World University Games, very different from the major championships elsewhere in terms of global championships, where you would expect the East Africans to completely dominate, run away from the field and leave everybody else for dead.
Yeah, no Ugandan in the field, but there is an Ngandu, a Kenyan runner, who's just sitting in second place in there behind Nikitin through the early stages. And
Gladwin Mazazi won his title in 2009 when the games were held in the Serbian capital Belgrade. He won that in 28-21-44 to fight off the Frenchman Denis Mayo, only beaten by 6 seconds. There was a South African who also took the bronze medal that day, Lungisa Mdoloa, who ran a personal best to fight off Alexei Ryakov of Russia, who also ran a personal best. Makoka, who won that title. Well, the Makoka first got a medal before that win last time out, when he finished second in the 2011 World University Games, chasing home Suguri Osako of Japan. Japanese do have representatives in this race as well, with Keisuke Nakatani, Hironi Sutaki, as we already mentioned, and also Kazuto Kawabata, who could be in the fight. He has a 28:44 10,000 best time, which was set this year, so he is a man who is improving, but it depends on just how brave and fast the favourite Mazazi aims to be. We saw last night with Fazlit Dinova how, because maybe she didn't attack it more, she had a much better personal best than everybody else in the field by some 40 seconds or so, but she didn't push it perhaps early enough in the race, and therefore it allowed others to challenge her when it got to the end of the race.
Yeah, and Zazi, he's been round the block a few times. He's been round the track even more times than that, and surely he has the experience not to fall into that trap. As Nikitin continues to lead away at the front, decided to take on the role of pacemaker, and it's not rapid, but it's not that slow either. The field strung out a little bit rather than...
yeah, they're almost single file at the moment, so you can see that it's being pushed out honestly by the Russian at the front. Nikitin not waiting. Last night the women, they were almost into lane 3 and 4, so slow was the pace at the beginning of the race. It's a little bit more honest this time around. We're still in the very early stages though, and they are beginning to group again.
Yeah, 2-minute 50 first kilometre. So, not exactly pedestrian.
Well, 2-minute 50 for the kilometre is it's pretty quick, to be quite honest with you. But nevertheless, It's not bad for a championship, let's put it that way.
Well, especially in these, I mean, it's muggy out there now, isn't it? It's been a very, well, to be fair, the edge has gone off it this afternoon. It was very hot and humid. It's still humid, but with the wind just starting to get up a little bit again, as it was earlier, it's getting a little easier for the athletes. I've seen Iran's Mohammad Jafar Muradi taking advantage of the drink station just to pour a bottle of water on his head. The drink station situated at the middle of the back straight.
So then 20 laps to go then. 2,000 metres reached in 5:50.
So they've slowed down a bit from the early pace. So a 3-minute second kilometre after 2:50 for the first. And you can see that there, the front of the bunch, just front of the pack rather, just bunching up a little bit now. The first kilometre they were going through at about 28-minute 20 pace, which would have been enough to burn off pretty much everyone in the leading pack if they'd kept that pace going the whole way. They've now slowed down a bit from that. It's more like just over 29-minute pace now. But we'll see. I think we'll be expecting the pace to accelerate in the second half of the race again, as it did last night in the women's race. So hold on to your hats. There could be some fireworks later on. I think we're getting some fireworks on the other side of the city as well. We can hear some thunder just off to the north of the stadium. But hopefully we're going to miss that here. It is very open. It wouldn't be particularly, although it has been a hot and sticky day, I don't think it would be particularly pleasant to get a torrential downpour here.
Well, Nikitin has decided that he's had enough for the time being, and it's the Kenyan Mark Lokwanamoy who's taken over at the front. Two Kenyans in this race, though, James and Gwangju. The other one, a much slower pace than Lokwanamoy, who doesn't appear to have a personal best on the sheets this time around, but nevertheless, he is sub-30 this season. And again, the slower the race is, the more the field will become competitive, because the personal best times will no longer be quite so significant.
And news just in, Angus. We were told that the qualification competition for the women's discus had been cancelled, but in fact it did take place earlier. And so we are down to just a 12-woman field for the final. I'm sure we'll be catching up with that certainly after this 10,000 metres, and maybe a little bit earlier than that if we have a bit of a quiet point in this race, as we hit the 18 laps to go mark.
Well, the Kenyans are following on at the moment, but the man who's gone out in front is the Iranian Mohammad Jafar Muradi. Man who has a personal best of 29 minutes and has got quite courageous in pushing out there. He's done a couple of marathons this year as well, setting a national record in the Dubai marathon back in January with 2:17:41, which is still slower than Paula Radcliffe's world record for women. He's on 10,000 metres so far in Tehran, which he ran in 30:42, and he's taken his moment just to assert himself, the 25-year-old.
Yeah, I think he needed to as well, Angus. The pace dropping yet again through that third kilometre. They're now sort of edging out towards about a 30-minute pace if it stays like this. So really, I think some of the favourites needing to put the pedal down a bit as we get a big acceleration there.
Well, finally, you can see there that patience running out. As Mazazi decides that exactly what you just said, funnily enough, that the favourites need to step it up a bit, and all of a sudden there's a 5-metre gap. Others don't want to let him go, though. The Belgian Sofiane Bouchiki is trying to reel them back in again. The two Kenyans also not so far away. The Iranian suddenly finding the pace a little bit hotter than he did before.
Well, that spurt has really seen well, a few of the athletes just drop off the end of the pack now.
Well, the Kenyans so known for 10,000 metres, but Mark Lakwanamoi, who is in third place at the moment, a relatively new one. He's 27 years old, though, so he's only just eligible to compete in this championships. You're not allowed to be over 28 as a student. He's got an outdoor, well, he's got a marathon best, half marathon best of 65 minutes, so it's not exactly world class. You're looking towards nearer 60 minutes to get into world-class territory at the half marathon as the women's discus is underway under these rather threatening skies now. It's not quite as threatening actually in real life as it looks there on this TV.
Well, that cloud is the one that's actually missed us to the north, which is where the thunder's coming from, is Yulia Maltseva, the pre-competition favourite. Flings that one out just under 60 metres. It was a pretty decent throw.
They're through 5,000 metres, incidentally, in the 10,000 in just under 12 minutes. So
still on that 30-minute pace, or
through 4,000 metres, excuse me, in just under 12 minutes. Otherwise, that would be very quick.
Well, new world record by 5 minutes.
Yeah.
So, Yulia Maltseva, she's been out over 63 metres this season, 8th in last year's European Championships, but hasn't hit that form in the first round, at least. Here's Subenrat Inseang of Thailand. She's another woman who can go over 60 metres, has done this season already, a new national record. And not managing that there. That's around about the 57-metre mark. She's already added 3 metres to that personal best of hers this season. National champion, junior Asian champion a few years ago, and was 4th at the last Universiade in Kazan. We'll hope to go at least one better here. 55 metres 57, second place, at least for the moment, for the Thai discus thrower. Now, Marika Steinecker, also one of the favourites. She's can get up to about 59 metres at her very best at a PB that she said earlier this year, and that is up close to 59 metres in fact, and could well see her move into the lead, the early lead at least, in the first round of the women's discus. Good form through the air, good angle on the discus. Very decent indeed. She's based in Leverkusen. In fact, she's part of the sports club, which is part of the football club, which has once again qualified for next season's Champions League in the football. As we move back now to the 10,000 metres.
And some very interesting stuff was going on whilst you were looking at that discus, because Sofiane Bouchiki, the Belgian, went in front and then built up a 2-metre lead and then started looking behind him, encouraging the others to actually come and help out with the pace. Mazazi, who had dropped back into 4th place, answered the call and now finds himself back in front again, and now he wants to feed out. It's almost as if they're in a cycling peloton at the moment. They want everybody to take their time at the front, and the two Kenyans are there as well, Mark Lakwanamoi and James Ngandu as well. But at the moment, Mazazi being forced to stay in front by Sofiane Bouchiki, who was 16th in the European Junior Championships 4 years ago. Made it to the European Championships as a senior as well last year and finished 15th. So it was consistent.
Yeah, and they've just accelerated through that 5th kilometre as well. A 2 minutes 56 on that one, so they're down to about a 29-minute 40 pace at the moment. Again, probably expect to get that under 29:30 as the leaders accelerate through the final phases of the race. But Mzizi is again taking himself off the front.
12 laps or 3 miles left of this track, and the race well and truly opened out. And you can see that the Belgian Bouchiki has taken up the pace again. Mazazi popping in behind him in 2nd place, and really they are down properly to single file now as the pace has been literally blown apart. Around about the same time that we saw a similar thing happen last night in the women's race, when Ala Kulatina suddenly decided that she was going to go, but she wasn't interested in sharing the pace. She just went for it and continually tried to break away from everybody else, testing their resolve. It's much more of a collaborative effort tonight in the men's race.
It definitely is, isn't it? The Belgian there just easing himself over onto the outside, allowing Zizi to just overtake as easily as possible. Very polite, actually.
Well, they're working hard together. Let's not forget that tonight is a much warmer, more humid night than it was last night. It had been raining persistently through the evening. The temperature was very much reduced, which was much easier for the distance runners. In one sense, actually, with the sprint finals taking place tonight, the semi-finals, the weather was perfect for them. Not quite so good, although it's hardly boiling. So it could be worse. When they're in Osaka and in Beijing for the World Championships in 2007 and Olympics in 2008, the conditions were much worse for the distance runners. There is a gentle breeze as well that is blowing down the back straight. It's not strong, it's just there, just taking away a little bit of the heat.
Yeah, and that's a welcome respite from the humidity for athletes, spectators and commentators alike.
Well, Mazazi pushing them again. Mark Lokawanamoy is there, but his teammate James Nkandu is now finding the pace a little too hot. The second Kenyan now in around about 7th or 8th place, behind the trio of Japanese who have moved into contention again.
Yeah, the Japanese, they will go as long and as hard as they can through the race. If they can help out a faster teammate, they will do exactly that. They will be running as a team, those three. That's Hironori Tsusaki, Keisuke Nakatani and Kazuto Kawabata.
And now they have just gone past Mark Lakwanamoy, who himself is now finding the pace just a bit too hot. Not used to Kenyans being burned up like this, but in the World University Games, as we said, they aren't quite the force that they are in other major world titles or championships, either be Olympics or indeed Commonwealth Games or indeed the World Championships, which of course come up later in the year.
Well, no, I mean the thing is, they get picked up and put into the the big training programs in the likes of Kenya, before university age, and then at that stage, then they're basically professional runners. And it is very different now. Zazi looking round, asking for more help. Still just himself and the Belgian doing all the pacemaking at the front at the moment. Japanese not helping at all. Nicolae Alexandru Soare of Romania also in there, but he's just tucking himself in, trying to use up as little energy as possible as they lap one of his Romanian teammates, in fact.
Yeah, the Ethiopians, of course, they had their 10,000 metre trials in Hengelo, which is more often than not been the case over the last few years. The event up there in Hengelo, run by a famous agent of Ethiopian athletes. Mazazi still leading Buchiki still second, but now joined by Keisuke Nakatani of Japan, who's on the shoulder of the South African, who looked a little bit surprised to see him there.
Yeah, and the pace going up again through that 6th kilometre as well. 2 minutes 55 for that one.
And now a Russian coming in front. Igor Maximov, I think that is, going in to the lead. Is indeed. Igor Maximov, who's another sub-30 minute man.
Yeah, the first of the Japanese athletes as well now, just dropping off of the back of that leading pack.
Igor Maximov is 23 years old now. He does have a little bit of championship pedigree to his name. A couple of years ago, he was second, or sixth rather, in the European Juniors. Same year he went to the European Cross-Country Championships, finished well down the field before finishing in a silver medal position at the same under-23 competition last year. And he's decided that he's going to take them out, and it means that the Japanese now, where they were running as a 3, have now been split apart. Coming up to 7 laps to go.
That's a good positive move, isn't it, from the Russian? Looking to just get the pedal to the metal.
Well, he's running in rarefied air. He's got a personal best of 13:42 for the 5,000 metres. So it's hardly world class. He ran that this year, though. This, I believe, is his first 10,000 metres of the year.
Well, he's really putting in a spurt, isn't he? Making a bid for glory. In fact, he's really split that leading pack apart there, down to 5. And in fact, he'd opened up a gap of 3 or 4 metres for a moment or two. He's just been dragged back, but that's a real injection of pace now.
Well, the lead Japanese now is Keisuke Nakatani. But it's still Maximov who's leading at the moment, and well, it looks as though the Belgian is suffering now. Sofiane Buchiki, who was telling everybody to help out with the pace mid-race, is now finding the pace too hot for him to be able to keep up with. Mazazi is also struggling just a little bit.
I wonder if he's just taking a little breather. I mean, he's done more than his fair share of the work so far. I can't believe that he'd be, I mean, he is by far the fastest runner in this field. Although the Japanese athlete just in front of him, he looks in extreme pain there, but I think he's looked like that for the last 4,000 metres or so. So that's Keisuke Nakatani in second place.
The Romanian Nicolae Alexandru Soare. He's wearing the number 17 on his shorts, but the 766 on his vest. He's looking reasonably good, as Buchiki now looks though he's dropping off completely, as this pace is relentlessly taken on by the Russian Igor Maximov.
I think Maximov, though, I think he's just eased off a little bit now, maybe suffering for that. That front 4 have just bunched up together.
5 laps to go, just over a mile. They have really speeded up in this second half of the race in exactly the same way, in some sense, that the women's race did last night, but it's been a number of men that have contributed to the pace as opposed to that women's race 24 hours ago. Buchiki is not completely off the back yet. If they start to think Maximov has just backed off the pace and the Japanese telling him to get on with it, which is a bit cheeky, he could maybe go and do some of the pacing himself.
Yeah, well, he's done absolutely zero of the pace making so far in this race, so really... Well, Maximov just ignoring him, in fact.
And Buchiki is the great benefactor of that, because he's now back on the back of that pack. Kept to his pace and has brought back in. It'll be interesting to see whether his slightly more even pace will help him at the finish.
He certainly looks very relaxed there, doesn't he? But Nakatani looking round, expecting someone to make the pace, but refusing to do so himself. I mean, he absolutely doesn't want to be in the lead. You can see it here, look. Maximov sort of, easing down, allowing him to overtake, and he's simply refusing to do so. It's like he's decided, I'm not going to take the lead of this race no matter what, even if he really should.
Well, Kazuki Nakatani finished 7th at the World Juniors in the 10,000 metres last year. That was his only other major championship, so still relatively inexperienced, only 20 years old. But it's a fairly mature race, you have to say. He's certainly thinking about himself, not interested in the pace, other than the fact that he wants somebody else to take it. But he's after a gold medal. So too is Maximov. So too is Soare, the Romanian. Mzazi, who's the favourite, and Machiki, all still in this fight.
I put it down as damn cheeky, actually. Maximov sticking on the inside.
Well, perhaps the Japanese there is just struggling. He certainly looks as though he's hurting. Maximov looking very, very calm inside him. And so too the Romanian, who I think looks the most comfortable of all, is sitting there in third where he's been for the last 2 or 3 laps. Bachiki looks like he's getting a slight second wind.
Yeah, and Zaza, I mean, he looks ungainly, doesn't he? His head and shoulders rolling all over the place.
There's a slight John Ngugi look about him, the great Kenyan cross-country champion, although he's not quite as wild as the man who went to win so many cross-country titles.
Oh, but the elbows are sticking out. Certainly, if you're in a packed bunch with him, you'd know about it.
Well, there was a time in 10,000 metre running when the back markers would get out of the way. That doesn't seem to happen anymore. That was a long time ago, though. Into the final part of this race then, still Maximov leading at the moment. Nakatani of Japan in second place, controlling the race in one sense because he's stopping anybody coming through, but he's the one who looks in the most pain as they come into this last mile.
Yeah, I think he's looked like that since about the 2nd kilometre, Angus. I think it's just you know, some people have certain expressions, don't they, as they run. Characteristics, facial tics, call it what you will.
So they come then with 2 laps to go, 800 metres until the end. Still 5 men in with a shout here of the gold medal in the men's 10,000 metres at the World University Games in Gwangju. Maximov is the man who burst away from the pack about 5 laps ago, injected pace that had already been injected by Sofyan Bachiki and then Mzazi. And those 3 all still in there still. But who is going to crack? Who's got the better finish? Who can time it better? Who's going to be brave? Who thinks that they can wait until the last 200 metres, and who thinks they need to go earlier? Maximov looks like he needs to go earlier, and he's pushed again. Suarez gone with him, though, the Romanian, and Mzazi is digging hard, trying to keep with them. The Romanian, though, you can see how hard he's working to try and keep with the Russian, who suddenly looks very at ease. Nagatani looks like his vault is shot, and Bachiki, who dropped off the back a few moments ago, also looks like this time he may well be definitively dropped.
It looks like a race between 5 has become a race between 2 now as Maximov puts the pedal to the metal, makes his bid for glory.
Away they go then, it's down to 2 then. Maximov of Russia against Soare of Romania. It's not going to be the South Africans, as we thought, who take it. It's going to be a Russian or a Romanian. And Maximov looks as though he's timed this beautifully after a Russian victory in the women's race last night. It looks as though there's going to be a Russian victory in the men's race as well. Igor Maximov stretching away now. Suarez is beaten. He'll be more interested in thinking about whether he can keep hold of his silver medal. Looks like the Japanese Kazuki Nakatani has broken away for the bronze medal, although there's a big charge by another Russian behind him, but Maximov stretches away. And what Alea Kunetina did last night, Igor Maximov does 24 hours later to become the men's champion over 10,000 metres. Soare of Romania takes the silver medal. And I think Nagatani did hold on for the bronze in the end. He did indeed in 29:19:30. But 29:15:30, the winner's time for Igor Maximov for his first major title.
Well, it was a great run, and it was Maximov who really broke the race open in the second half. of the race as well, didn't he? And he got what he deserved there. It's good to see that, you know, the person who, like in the women's race last night, that the person who actually took the race on, took it to the other athletes, actually came away with a gold medal at the end of it, rather than someone who's just tucked themselves in and let someone else do all the work, then just waft through for a gold medal at the end. It was a really well-timed run from Maximov, and a new personal best as well for Nicolae Alexandru Soare of Romania in second place. He just held off a fast-finishing Nakatani with Vladimir Nikitin, who led the pace in the early stages, fast finishing for fourth place.
Well, it's not a quick time.